And you may have known Mary Leitner.
Yes.
Yeah. Mary just retired from NRCS. She had Tift and Irwin counties.
Barry.
She may have had Berrien too.
She did.
Yeah. Did she? Okay. Yeah. So she just retired. She might even be a good person to get in if you could get her off the farm.
Yeah.
Okay. So our job is research. Now, we don't work on, in agriculture, when you meet somebody and you say you work for USDA, the first thing they'll typically ask you is, oh, well, what crop do you work on? And what we always say is, well, we don't work on a crop, we work on soil and water. And within ARS, it's not a huge part of the ARS budget going to work on soil and water. Less than 15% of the overall budget goes to work on soil and water, although that's about $150 million a year, which is a substantial effort, even though it's spread across the U.S. So our work, and the reason that I was, when Dave came by this morning around 8:15, looking a little bit, as panicked as he's going to get, which was, I really would like to have you come talk to our group. The only problem is it's tonight.
You're the man.
Yeah. And so the reason that Dave wanted someone from our group to come talk is we have been doing research on the basin that you're interested in for the last 35 or 40 years. Our laboratory started in, the birth of it was actually in a congressional bill that was passed in 1959, which set up a system of watershed research units around the country. And the original legislation called for there to be at least 6 of these in different parts of the country to represent the agricultural regions of the country. Now you think, well, 6, you've got a lot more than 6 agricultural regions around the country, and we don't know. We think that maybe they figured they would do more later. But we ended up with 6 of these watershed research units. One was in Pennsylvania, one was in Missouri, one was in Idaho, one was in Oklahoma, one was in Arizona, and one was in Georgia. Well, they didn't know it was going to be in Georgia when they passed the bill. They just said one should be in the southeast. So they did a lot of reconnaissance, and what they found, and this will be the first thing I actually say about water, what they found is that if they wanted to do watershed research, they really ought to go someplace where the watersheds were well defined. And I think this is something that you probably all already know, that the upper part of the watersheds, of your watersheds, I'm just going to start calling them your watersheds, the upper parts of your watersheds are areas where there's very little groundwater recharge, where the water that falls on the surface in rainfall, or the snowfall we get every 30 years, the water that falls on the surface is going to infiltrate the soil or run off the soil, but it's going to end up in local streams. In other words, the water that falls, if I'm standing on a hill, you can see the stream that water is going to get to. And all the water that falls there that doesn't evaporate and doesn't get stored in the soil to evaporate later is going to end up in that stream. Now, the closer the water falls to the stream, the more likely it is to get into the stream, but we'll talk about that more in just a minute.